You'll Never Hear All You Wanted by Michelle Branch or I Love You Always Forever by Donna Lewis the same way again after you watch I Love You Forever, which is currently streaming on Max. It was written and directed by Cassie David and Eliza Kalani, and Cassie plays the adult best friend. If you see what I did there, get it? Because she was in the movie called Adult Best Friends. Did you get it? Do I need to actually just get a neon sign? I can't afford a neon sign. Just work with me here. But Cassie plays Allie, who happens to be the very, very, very good friend of the main character, McKenzie, or Ken's for short, played by Sophia Black-D'Elia, who was in Good Burger 2, Electric Boogaloo, and boy, oh boy, Good Burger 2. Not that Good Burger 1 was ever necessarily that great, but it has a certain charm for people my age. But that being said, she was in I Love You Forever as well, which would actually be a wordier title. It's just I Love You Forever. And if you can't figure out what this movie is about just from the trailer, just from the poster, just from the description, I'm going to give you the non-spoiler premise, basically. You have Mackenzie, or Ken's for short, that is working hard to get into City Hall because she wants a big job in the city. She wants to work all night and all day, but then at a party she meets Finn, played by Ray Nicholson from Novocaine, and smile to when he hits himself in the face with a weight plate. Over and over. I need to watch that movie again. But before that, I gotta talk about I Love You Forever. And it starts off as a traditional rom-com with some sweet moments, and we see that Mackenzie isn't exactly... She's not treated the best, even by like certain guys she interacts with. She has good friends. She has Lucas, played by John Rudnitsky, who actually is pretty good in this, I do want to say. And she has a good support system, but at a party she ends up meeting Finn. And Finn seems like a great guy, seems to be treating her really goddamn well. And then a certain switch happens that sort of makes you wonder, okay, what kind of relationship is this going to end up being? I'm going to warn people before I dive into any more of this movie, especially in the spoilers. If you have been in anything that has been considered a toxic relationship, shall we say, this is going to trigger a lot, and I mean a lot of bad memories. I've been in my fair share of toxic relationships. I have had to have my own growth when it comes to relationships, and admittedly have not been in one for a number of years for a variety of reasons. One, I was tired of the dating game. That being said, I'm seeing stuff about the dating game in this and a few other movies. It makes me think maybe dating just isn't for me. I Love You Forever was for me, though. It won me over. It definitely took the more horror route a little bit later on. Not even body horror, but just psychological horror. There was some damaging shit in this. Now, it was played at times for laughs, but really got dark. And I do have to say, Cassie did a really, really good job, along with Ms. Kalani, of moving things along and not letting the movie overstay its welcome. Now, some people will say this is like Adult Best Friends. No, I'll take this movie over Adult Best Friends. I just felt Adult Best Friends was just like a sitcom with just, very, very loose threads, and just like, it was almost like stock images of people interacting with each other. It just didn't work. This did work, though. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch this again, or at least not watch this for a bit until I don't know, take a freaking pressure wash shower, because I felt dirty after watching this. Maybe that was the point, and they did a really, really good job. There are some other characters sprinkled in, but really it is about how Mackenzie and Finn interact. All I'm going to say is, before I get into spoilers, if you ever run into anybody that's going to act like the people in this, especially the person that's going to treat somebody badly, you run. You don't walk, you run to your support system. You get the fuck away from them. You block their number. You don't ever interact with them again. It is on Max if you want to check it out. It's pretty damn good stuff. Pretty haunting. I'm not saying it's wholly original. I'm not saying there aren't movies that have tackled this subject, differently. Whatever. But as far as an indie film with a cast that certainly, gave it their all, this was quite good and quite frightening. Very good performances overall, and that's it. That's really all I have to say. So let's get into spoilers. So on Max, we want to check it out. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, yes, All You Wanted by Michelle Branch plays early on in this movie, and I saw Michelle Branch in concert 20 plus years ago, and she was great to listen to. She did a rendition of Lit's My Own Worst Enemy. So, yeah, it's an emotionally abusive relationship because, oh boy. Her friends seem genuine, though Allie seems to think she either can get by on her looks or or kind of has her head in the clouds. I do have to say that Cassie David is a beautiful woman, so I don't understand why Pete Davidson wouldn't have treated her better, because they only dated for 2.5 years, and if you find a woman that looks like that, you want to treat her right. But nevertheless, we also see how basically one of her fuck buddies, that is, McKenzie or Ken's, was like this guy Jake, and I do have to say Jake, Raymond Cham Jr., he does a good job kind of being the aloof guy that he wants things his way. He doesn't want to get too attached, but he wants to make sure that he's, doing, that he still can keep her around. Well, then after this party goes on, and Mackenzie ends up meeting Finn, who has his friends, but he's like, he's just all sweet and nice and everything, and he takes care of her and does nice things. After she talks about how she doesn't like having a date in front of people, he rents out a whole restaurant. And they share secrets and everything. They talk about, the 3 favorite animals. He says red panda, the golden retriever, and the chimp. And says, the first one's how the world sees you. The second one's how you see yourself. Golden retriever, loyal, all that stuff. And the third one is who you actually are. He describes the chimp as almost human. And to be fair, it bores out later on. It's actually very creepy. Lucas is very aloof when it comes to emojis and what flirting is. And I can fucking identify absolutely with that. I practically have to have a woman throw herself at, not that a woman has in a long time, but I'm just saying I practically have to have a woman throw herself at me. And even then it'll be like, well, this isn't correct. Who do you think I am? Like, seriously, don't you mean to go with somebody else? Anyway, Finn does good stuff. He just tries to get to know her, and you're just waiting for their shoe to drop. And she's in her college and doing stuff and everything. But then they talk about their past relationship issues. And he even talked about his mom leaving him when, when he was younger and everything, and that that scarred him. And he got her a new gold bracelet because it was something about a gold bracelet, and his was, they were engraved, and they switched bracelets, so they had each other's names on their wrists, and it's cute. He's a news reporter, and he ends his car crash in Portland with, I love you, Mackenzie, and it's great. Turns out that's going to factor in a little bit later on. He is very clingy and obsessive. I'm not going to get into the finer details of a lot of this stuff, but I will say that there were certain things here as far as obsessive individuals that absolutely made me just recoil. I've had stalkers before. Believe it or not, my freaking, average at best ass had stalkers. Multiple. By the way, I don't know why. It was never to the point of like a single white female situation, which is good because I own rabbits or owned rabbits. But it was so ridiculous. And he is gaslighting and manipulating her and everything. But then go back to doing sweet stuff and everything. But he'd just be pulling her in and molding her like a piece of clay and stuff like that. Her being a woman that was easily manipulated because she just wanted to be loved. And yeah, this is just, oh God, there's just some, he's manipulative as hell, and just destroys her psyche. Gets to where you think she might actually stand up for herself, and she almost does, and then it comes crashing down and everything. And if the roles are reversed, it'd be the same damn thing. This is fucking frightening. And he basically, even contacted them at dinner. Like, he contacted her at dinner, like, and would contact her at the house and stuff like that. Just all this crazy stuff. There's the one where he broke up with her while she was trying to be in class doing this stuff. And then he would show up at the apartment and be nice and everything. But then he beat himself. He would flush the necklace that she gave him down the goddamn deal down the toilet and bashed his head into the window and stuff like that, just to get her to stick around and be the girl that he wants her to be. Be basically subservient to him. And it was just friggin' just crazy. I mean, it wasn't even so much that this movie was like super hyper violent And there are a lot of well-worn things that have been done in other movies, but it's just the way they did it here that just seemed a little more authentic. And at one point she's at a dinner, and this is after they had a nice sleepover and everything was good. And then Harrison, a friend of his that was there earlier, that was kind of all creepy to her, like from the party before, he was all like, he saw her at the dinner and took a picture, and oh, she's really close to Lucas, one of her like very good friends and everything that she has absolutely no romantic interest in. I was still waiting for McKenzie and Allie to get together, but I digress. So let's just move on from that. So McKenzie or Ken's got into City Hall thanks to a recommendation from Finn because he helped out. He knows people and stuff like that. But then, oh boy, she basically is just absolutely just unraveling at this point. He emotionally abuses her, emotionally pushed her, basically talking about like how, oh, he's done everything for her, this kind of stuff. And she eventually, he had said something to trigger her. She slapped him. Oh, why would you do that? Why would you do this? And she's like, I'm sorry, this kind of stuff. And oh, God, no. Don't treat your significant others like this, guys. Don't. Guys, girls, women, men, whatever you identify as, whoever you identify as, do not treat somebody like this that you claim to love. Don't treat anybody like this in general. But she ran into Jake, not from State Farm, but, the F-buddy from before, and put him under the last name of Lindsay, somebody from the study group and stuff like that. But then she misses Allie's dinner to celebrate something, I forget what, but then she goes out to Portland to meet him and have a nice romantic thing, but then he notices a message from Lindsay, and something at 2 a.m, what are you up to? And then she basically says who he was, that wasn't interested in him, but he bombarded her about the phone number, and she didn't want to say no. She could have said no, by the way, but at this point she was so broken down, like, that she felt like she couldn't. But then he throws stuff around the room. He's talked about ending his own life numerous times. Don't use that as an excuse for somebody to stay with you, because that's not a good relationship. Then the staff shows up at the hotel, and she basically says, I love you forever, please let me go. Sure, yeah, door's open. Because he, sociopath. He's just sociopath, psychopath, wherever you want to go, flip on, off, that kind of stuff. I know this is hang loose, but work with me here. And then she basically takes off on a scooter, happily ever after. You think it's going to end. She's with her friends. But then she's like, I fucked up. This kind of stuff because he wound her up and made her feel like all this shit was her fault. When it wasn't. He was just gaslighting and making her feel bad. And then she goes back to Jake, who still treats her bad. I'm just going to say, with respect, if you find a woman like Mackenzie, Sophia, Black, Dahlia, you treat her right. You treat somebody right, especially if you care about them. But then she sees Finn on the news and sees another necklace, and he's got another conquest, Jenny or whatever her name was. And she says, what the fuck? And then we end. And then we end right there. Apparently, Diablo Cody, who had something to do with Jennifer's Body and also Lisa Frankenstein, which deserved to do so much better at the box office. But I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I don't really know if I will watch it again anytime soon, at least. But it is definitely something's going to stick with me. Now I got to go with that pressure wash shower. So, with that visual in mind, I'm going to give it an A-. I enjoyed it. Even if it was very triggering and very haunting. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. Until we meet again, happy trails to you.